right, a very bright morning right from Arua City. Today is the 17th of the month of May. You're most welcome from wherever you are watching us from to this great and amazing show. This is the Kokoliriko Live that begins each and every morning. That is from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock every Mondays to Fridays right here with me, FARISH Majid. And today we are going to be also talking about several topics. And more today we are also expecting a guest that is also none other than Counsel Odama Henry, the legal officer for Arua City. And we are going to be discussing the Waste Ordinance. And this is also where some people is saying Arua City is very much dirty, and could this be the solution now to that also challenge there? And we are going to be doing that, and he will be joining us later on the show. But now, for now, you are most welcome from wherever you are watching us from. Maybe you is watching us right now sitting out your comfort, maybe in your sitting room. It could be in your room, and that is where also really sometimes people watch us, and this is only where I want to take this honor to welcome you in a great way and say you are most welcome to the Kokoliriko Live Show. We are here already for the final edition of the week. It is a Friday, and that means that we are just heading into one of the biggest and amazing weekends. And this is where we are going to be seeing most of those also activities also really ending in there. And this is where I must say it is going to be a busy week. That is more so in the world of sports. And this is where also really I will be letting you know later on maybe some of the games that will be going on over the weekend. And remember, the English Premier League also will be that is climaxing over the weekend at the same time, and we shall also really be seeing the sometimes Uganda Premier League also really as well, also really having final games in there. These are games also really that will be taken as finals. That is also really as far as also really determining who exactly will be crowned the champions of the sometimes Uganda Premier League this season, and that is why we must also really be also in the know, because so many of these also leagues are becoming tight, and that also tells us how maybe the football is growing. And that is also something I must remind you. And remember, also in the summer we are going to be witnessing also the English Premier League also voting against, maybe also to vote also against the VAR. But before that, now let's also really start the discussions right with what is happening in the world of census. But the question you should be also asking yourself is, have you been enumerated? That is the question that really you must be asking yourself this morning. But on a sad note, we also witnessing bad things happening with the enumerators, where we have at least lost, that is also really about 3 enumerators. And today being the 16th, and that means that also really the access will not be extended. And that's information we did receive recently. That is from you, boss, that the days will not be extended. And that is why districts that are performing very well have been identified. And one of those districts that is actually performing very well is Zombo district. And this is also where we want to appreciate the people behind the census in Zombo district. But one of the worst districts has been identified as Terego, which is solely where the performance is not very good, and that is solely where we want to urge the people now to speed up. Well, I do understand that Terego also could be having several challenges, maybe network, it could be power, but nonetheless we all want to say we want to see Terego also appear maybe on those good districts which are also said to be very good performing in there. But as we get to the beginning of the discussions, we are seeing a story on a sad note here, where a dog has beaten, that's the census enumerator, that's in Namutumba district, and this is really quite unfortunate. But that is where we want to begin our discussions with, because we want to see that everybody is enumerated, but sometimes also where we are giving these enumerators a hard time, where now animals also start giving them the difficulty, then it becomes quite difficult, where we may not be able to see the exercise go on as planned, because we are looking at how best we can also ensure that this exercise moves on smoothly. Because if at all dog bites are going to be taking place, trust me, this is going to scare away so many people. But what we are seeing on a sad note is actually where a dog has beaten, that is a census enumerator, and this is something that we did see happening over yesterday. An enumerator in Namutumba district has reportedly also been beaten by a dog, and this is already belonging to a family. He was counting also during the ongoing population study. And this is why I want to say people who have dogs in their homes must ensure that these dogs are tied, at least during this period. I want to say that because sometimes these dogs don't know us, and we are going to come to you to enumerate, and the dogs are going to chase us away, which may not be quite well. And this is why maybe I not always step in homes that also really have dogs, and more so where I feel maybe a home has dogs, I first inquire if at all maybe the dog is died, because I was once embarrassed by a dog where I visited the home. I know, just like me, so many people out there could be having the same experience. But we are saying those who have dogs in their homes, please respect that is also the government program. Understand that we are not coming to also jeopardize your security. We're not coming to also really do maybe what is unfairly, but what we are saying is we must ensure that these dogs at least tied, so that not only these enumerators are not harmed. And we are just talking about this same case, and the same case also could happen elsewhere. And to avoid all that, we are saying people must ensure that their dogs are tied at least during this period, so that also nobody is beaten by dogs. Because if an enumerator is beaten by dogs, trust me, also I wish the burden goes back to the family that also did not take the initiative of ensuring these dogs are tied. And Mr. Patrick Isabire says the dog beat him, that is at home belonging to Miss Madina Nabire, a resident that is of Kungumbulu B Village, Namutuma Town Council, and this is where he had gone to solely do his work, that is of the census. And UBOS embarked on national population census and housing exercise, which is of 2024 on May 10th, and which will be ending, that is on the 19th of May, which is just about 3 days to go. But the question is, have you been enumerated? And I must say, yesterday at least I got enumerated. It is also a great pleasure for me, and I must say I'm very excited because I know now my data is captured. And this is also really something that you who is not yet also been enumerated, you must also ensure that this happens. So and the only way you can now do that is also really quite simple, by reaching out maybe to the area else security agencies around, so that also really they can call for enumerators who can come and also really have your data captured in there. Because we are seeing some people have not been enumerated by up to now. Others are saying they have not seen any enumerator in their area, and that is also how quite unfortunate it is. But we are still remaining with 3 days, and which will also be ending, that is on the 19th of May, with that's at around 11:59 p.m. and that's according to information we did receive from UBOS. That means also really we are not also talking about extension maybe for areas in Kampala. But for now, we are also not talking about other areas, for instance, Arua City, where people have been calling upon for the extension of the days. But really, UBOS is also optimistic that those days that we are missed, first of all, in the first 2 days, will be compensated by those enumerators who can now do their work speedily. And that is also really where they have been called upon to ensure that also really they do their work properly in there. And that is one thing also I want to take up the honor to also ensure and call upon the enumerators to also ensure that they do so, because we want to see how this exercise can run smoothly, so that already everybody's data is captured. So that's already in the next 10 years, somebody is going to be infringing on the resources government is giving to the other. And that would also really mean that we are not going to be also complaining about shortage of drugs. We are not going to be talking about also how the UPE grants are not favoring us. And definitely these concerns shall be avoided, definitely through also the ensuring that government now budgets also really on what we call accurate data, not only on assumptions, which is really quite unfortunate, because really if government is not going to be basing their resource allocation that is on what we call actual data, then definitely that will also subject government of Uganda to go through what we call assumptions. And also really this may also come with its own negative challenges, for instance, where people may complain about shortage of drugs in these medical facilities, and that is really where mostly people also complain about. And really that is something I also want to say we must also honor, and really we must take it seriously, because the national population and housing census exercise of 2024 is actually once in a while activity, which is done each and every 10 years, and this is where we are going to be seeing the next also coming back in 2034. The last time we did see this exercise was in 2014, and which also did go on well. And really this is also, I must say, is moving on well. Most of the districts are now also coping up with also the missed days, and that is really quite fortunate. And this is where we also want to see them to speed up, and that would also mean quite a lot. And now let's move to other areas where it is becoming difficult, more so inaccessible, as Wari also really is massacre residents refused to vacate flooded areas. And remember with the issue about also really the return of the rains, we're also being told about the rising water levels. But how prepared are you, more so you who is living around the shores of the lakes, the shores of the rivers, and the shores of the swamps as well, because the swamps may not also really exclude you. And if at all they continue to rain, and if you continue to also really witness maybe what we call the heavy rains, at the end of the day, we may also see more houses being destroyed. We may see so many people also being pushed away, and that would also really mean a lot, because we may see lives lost, and that is what we are not praying for. But really we want to say that people must ensure that they abide by the guidelines the government of Uganda is issuing out, because we have seen 5.5 billion recently being issued. That is also to Ministry of Environment to also ensure that proper means are also done to also reduce on what the risk and the risks that is of the water rising levels in there. And I really feel that is quite fortunate, and we want to say people who are living more so around maybe the swamps, and that is already the lakes and the rivers, which are currently also undergoing what we what we call rising water levels beyond record level, because now the records have been surpassed. That is also already what we are seeing, and the experts are now saying we may also already witness more rains. But the question we should be asking ourselves this morning is, most of those people who live around the shores of lake, or maybe the water bodies. We have people who live in around, that's along River Nile, in areas of, that is also Madiokolo, around Zombo. These are people who live along the water bodies, and this, we also have people who live in Wanseko, and also those around Pakwach. These are also areas that we may also be able to, at the end of the day, witness rising water levels, because we are also being told that there is no exclusion, and this is also where the country is currently witnessing heavy rains. And recently we did see also 2 days at least where we witnessed rain, and yesterday it didn't happen, today didn't happen, and we hope that also the day shall be able to end as it is, because really some people are now scared about rains, more so people who live along the shores of the lakes. But what we are saying is, you must be prepared so that also you are not caught up unawares, because if you're caught up unawares, definitely that would also mean a lot to you. But to avoid all that, you must also really be prepared, and that is where we may also really save your life. And now let's look at what happened exactly in there, and also stories from there have established that the flood also victims, that is at landing sites of Lambu, also Kaziru, Chiasa, and Kalokoso and Mirembe sub-counties at Bukakata have refused to vacate the area. That is already after the rising water levels in there. And this is something also I must say is quite risky, because at the end of the day, we all know how it can turn against, because we did see that in Kenya, where also so many households were destroyed, where also so many people were pushed. And that is also something I must say is quite dangerous, because at the end of the day, this water also may destroy the food crops and may not spare anything. And that is why we are saying people must be prepared for what is coming ahead of them. And that is why the government of Uganda is also doing its best to also ensure that nothing of that caliber happens. And this is where also we expect now the Ministry of Disaster and Preparedness to be on the standby if at all anything of that sort happens. And that is also where we expect them to rush, that is the rescue of these people who may be affected in there. Mr. Stephen Male, the chairperson of Lambu landing site, says also about 6,000 residents of the area only have that's 1,000 have located to several places within the Bukakata sub-county, as the rest have refused to also vacate the place. And now with ongoing census exercise, enumerators also for the population census are assigned to the affected sites claim to be at risk also of catching up waterborne diseases in there, because they have to move through water bodies. They have to peruse and find their ways through water bodies, which I must say is a bit quite risky. But then how best can they ensure that also they are not also affected in there? That is also something we need to understand, because that we may see so many people also being pushed, and that is also something that may be very dangerous. And Mr. Male asked the government of Uganda to extend also the census exercise for more also days, so as to also capture the data of all residents in there, because really some of the areas are quite huge, others are very inaccessible, some of the families are quite huge. And that is also where we have also been told about so many questions, and I really say that could also hamper the exercise, because looking at the technical challenges also plus the number of questions people may be able to answer. I don't know how many answers the enumerators will be able to answer, that is in the due course of the day. But what we are saying is people must also be prepared for that. And during the 2014 National Population Census and Housing Exercise, the 4 sub-counties, that is of also Kanyamuhaku, Chiesiga, Buunga, and also Bukakata had a total that is of 128,700 people, and that's only where they also are. And Masaka District Planner, also the District Census Officer, that is also Mr. Vincent Luchamuzi Sunday, has said also so far 47% of the population in the district has been enumerated, and despite some technical challenges here and there. And that's only something that we are saying, should such areas not be considered, really that would be quite good for them to be considered. And I really feel if at all such areas may be where the roads are impassable and inaccessible for the enumerators also to be extended, that will be quite well. And I don't know where the burden will be able to go to, but really what we are saying is that people must be ensured that their data is captured, so that other than that they may be able to infringe on resources meant for the others, and that is also in the coming months. And that is one thing I want to say. Government of Uganda is going to be doing this once in a while, and we must ensure that we are part of it. And there are 337 places for enumeration in some areas, like landing sites where many people have been displaced, and that is also according to Mr. Luchams in there. Speaking to journalists, that's on Kampala, that's on May 14th. Water and Environment also Minister, that's Sam Cheptoris, said Cabinet had approved that is the allocation of shillings 5.5 billion to support immediate measures to address the challenges related to what we call the rising water levels in the country's water bodies easy in there, because we have so many water bodies today, and we have people who are really living along the shores of River Nyayo, and these may also be affected as well. We are also talking about people who live along the areas. For instance, in West Nile, we have so many water bodies, and most of those people who live in there shall also maybe at the end of the day also affected, and that is why we are saying they must be ready, and Ministry of Water also has to do something so that already people are not caught up unawares in there. This is the third time in 4 years residents also already in the landing sites at Masaka are displaced by the rising water levels in Lake Victoria. In both 2020 and 2022, residents were all affected, and many temporarily shifted that to areas around also in there, but now today they also really refusing to shift, and that also really means they will still insist to live in there, and they must now be prepared for the negative outcomes that may arise as a result of their refusal to move to safer places. But now let's move away from that. Let's still see what is happening in central Uganda, more so with the Kabaka, and where the king, where people have been saying the king's chief guard ran away, but now we did see clarity. That's from the Katikiro, who is the Prime Minister of Buganda Kingdom. That's Charles Peter Mayiga, as saying the Kabaka's chief guard did not run away, and that's something also we are seeing on the past morning, as the Prime Minister, who is known as the Katikiro, that's of Buganda Kingdom, Mr. Charles Peter Mayiga, said that the head of also the Kabaka Protection Unit did not disappear while abroad after the military also declared him wanted person, and this is something that we did see the Katikiro also clarify on. Katikiro Maiga said Captain Edward Sempija went for further studies abroad, and officials wrote to him about it, and that's only where we did see that clarity come on. And on May 15th, the Directorate of Defense Public Information, Brigadier Charles Felix Kulaije, told local media that Captain Sempija disappeared from work and he is wanted by the military, and that's something that we did see happening in there. And Captain Sempija was appointed last year also as the head of Kabaka Protection Unit, and he was also under command of Colonel James Kato Kaliabira, the Directorate of Royal Guards in there. That's something we didn't see happening. And the king of Uganda Kingdom is traditionally protected. That's by the guards who are members also of the Lugave Pangolin clan in there. And that's something we didn't see, but due to also modernization of security and Buganda being part of Uganda, they did not also do their role under the Uganda Post Defense Forces in there. And that's why we did see deployment of the UPDF officers to that guard, and also to guard the king in there. That's where we did see. However, there have always been disagreements that is between Buganda Kingdom and the UPDF also on the deployment of royal guards in there. At one point, we did see Buganda Kingdom reject soldiers deployed to protect the Kabaka, who had also not been selected by the kingdom in there. That is really something we are seeing, because sometimes these kings already these traditional institutions also not maybe trust other security agencies, and that is why they feel they need to have their own also security men in there. And that's something also we are talking about. The government also resolved the issue by allowing the kingdoms also to select guards and who are trained by the UPDF before deployment in there. They automatically become members of the UPDF and also really subject to their rules and regulations in there. And the category also Maiga said Kabaka Ronald Mwenda Mutebi II is abroad, and also is the king, and the kingdom is aware of Captain Sempija's also really whereabouts, and that is also something we didn't see the king of Uganda, the Prime Minister also clarifying on, and he said although he was informed officially by the soldier, he is not aware about the military procedures for a person to go and live abroad. And that's something also we did see happening right in there, because we have a tendency of many times where people also escape from the country and disappear to the other areas. We have seen this quite common with sportsmen who move also to Europe, and after really returning, you find people disappear, and they really feel that they need to come back, not to come back because sometimes it is because of the economic hardships which they really claim is way back home, but really they feel now they need to live out and maybe live abroad, and that is only where they get such opportunities. We find them also disappearing. Then he said although he was informed officially, he is also not also really aware of the another issue. We did see appointing another of the Kabaka Protection Unit. He said the military is also already handling it to ensure that this also man is replaced in there. And that's something I want to say also really happened, and really want to say that should also really continue to happen, and that is something which at the end of the day which would also be quite good. And now let's look at what is happening elsewhere, where we did also see the tailor who designed Lucky Dube's outfit as well as that of Bobby Wine also is arrested over the red design of the berets in there. And that's something also we did see happening, and we are seeing on the past morning as a 45-year-old Ugandan fashion designer who is behind the deceased South African musician Lucky Dube's also design, and also Claudius also already has been arrested, and that is also where we did see him him also designing that one of Bobby Wine as well. And this the red berets and the red attire in there. And now he has been arrested. Mr. Latif Madoi was taken into custody. That's on Monday alongside 4 others, also for charges of possession of government stores, and they are currently detained. That is at Kasangati Police Station in Wakiso District, and that is something that we are seeing on the past morning. And Kampala Metropolitan Police spokesperson Patrick Onyango said Mr. Latif Madoi was also taken into their custody on Monday alongside 4 others on charges of possession of government also attire, and also they are currently also detained in there. And the other suspects arrested alongside Madoi include that is Joseph Afundra, who is 37 years old, and also Roger Scalia Subula, and not forgetting that Saban Tala, 27 years old, who are all residents that's of Jokolera village, and Moses Amigade, 32-year-old resident that's of Matuga in Wakiso District, all in central Uganda, and these are who have been arrested, and the 4 are believed to be supporters of Robert Kyagulanyi, commonly known as Bobby Wine, and who is a 42-year-old former presidential candidate in there, and he is also the party principal, that's National Unity Platform, and these are also well known for their party color, which is red, and that's already maybe something that also we did see this man arresting for. We also did see Mr. Onyango say the arrest of 4 also followed information that some people were putting on also security like attires with ranks and also the titles, and yet this was a crime according to also the country's armed forces in there. And this is something we have often seen where people have also already been able to identify themselves as traffic officers of NUP, where I've seen others also describing themselves as generals of NUP, and that is always something where this could be a crime, and that is something also at the end of the day we want to caution people where people must also desist from such tendencies, because really sometimes we are saying much as you have freedom to put on what you want, but really it must also not maybe be in resemblance to what we also talking about maybe to those of the forces. But what we are seeing, if people at all are also really wearing maybe anything that has connection to what we also talking about maybe for the soldiers, definitely we are saying they must stop it, because that is against the law. It is criminal to also really maybe try copy what the UPDF or other security agencies are putting on, and supporters of the National Platform Party, which also the Kyagulanyi Center leads been donning also red berets, and also not forgetting red attires since 2017 when Kyagulanyi contested, that is for the 2021 general 2021 general elections and the 2017 by-election as the MP in there. And these are things also where we have seen this also very, very much associated there with, and where we have also seen them also very much they identifying themselves with, because if you look at the red beret, and definitely somebody will be able to know that you subscribe what we call to the national platform. And we also have people who are putting on the yellow berets, and these also really definitely whom we know are affiliated, that is the ruling government of National Resistance Movement, and this is also something we have seen, and really we are saying people must also really ensure that they do not put on attires that really resemble that is of security agencies. And in 2019 police said, and police and army outlawed the attire and the berets also really on grounds that it's supposed to be worn by only members of the armed forces, and that's something we did see happening, as also really Kyagulanyi is a pop star. This was after Robert Kyagulanyi Sentamu, a pop star turned politician, and he was running for that is the presidency against also a long-time leader, that is Museveni in 2021 general election. Mr. Kyagulanyi made also the red beret his signature and their identity. That's also really the movement also really in there. And that's something else we did see happening. And according to also him, the police intelligence team was led to Madoi's LA Fashions and Skills Development School located that's in Jokolera village, Watuba ward in also Kasanga Town Council, where they recovered several items in there. And these are things we did see happening, and the other items also, which according to Onyango included that is 3 electric sewing machines. That's also we did see 1 army green raincoat, 2 charts solely bearing Latif Military Academy barracks, and we also did see 5 army green bags and 2 army green also headdresses and 1 tailoring machine, among others also got that is also arrested in there. And these are maybe things that have been taken as exhibits, and we are following up on that, and we want to see maybe if at all this matter can be addressed. And this is if something also can be done. At the end of the day, we shall be able to also see also that. And let's move on from that. Let's look at some of the stories. And in Tungamo, where a police officer has lost his fingers also while trying to arrest a suspect in there. And this is also another story we are seeing on the past morning, as police in Tungamo are also investigating circumstances under which a domestic brawl allegedly also cut off, that is the 2 fingers of that's a police officer in charge of also that is Ruashamaire police office station, vehicle. That is also as detectives attempted to arrest him in there. And that's something we did see happening. And that's also as Mr. Rogers Wamono had his fingers solely cut off, by a flying machete, also flung at him by suspects whom also had closed, also arrested him. And that's a Kinyanga village in Kongoro Parish, that's in Nyakabolo sub-county. And that's something we did see happening. And Mr. Wambolo told the publication that Wednesday that his hand was cut off, that is also by a flying machete thrown at him by police officers who had also broke into his house where the suspect was hiding. And this is something also we did see happening. And these are things also we want to also see that also such instances that not really happen should also cannot happen. And eyewitnesses at the scene of also told journalists that the man who had also had injured two other people using the same machete before police also stormed his house in there. And these are the things we want to say those who are going to, maybe such suspects who are resisting maybe to be arrested must also really be also really given, that is a deep sentences, which to me also really should amount to heavy punishments. So this also acts as a warning, because sometimes we are saying people just need to be arrested and taken to police just to write statements, but really we see people still resisting, people not want to walk to the police station. If you really are not guilty, then why do you resist also to go there? And that's also really where sometimes it calls for force, and that is something that at the end of the day where we have seen also really resistance, that's from suspects, and which at the end of the day also sometimes also drawn attention, that's from the community members, where it has to also result to live bullets being fired in the air to also really disperse also really the suspects. But this is not happening only in Tungamo. We have seen this happening elsewhere in Western Sub-region, where some suspects also resist being arrested. But what we are saying is people must abide by the law. And if the law says you are required to also file a statement at the police, or maybe you are required to move to the police, definitely you have the right also to defend yourself at the courts of law. And that is where you first of all may be able to end. And that's something which I must say also, which people must be able to respect. And really that is also what does summarize our first half of the first hour. And this is the Kokoliriko live show on Western Television channel 477 on Star Times, and also online across all the social media platforms. And remember, we are going to be joined shortly by Counsel Odama Henry, whom we are really also going to be discussing what we call the waste management ordinance, and we want to see if at all if this is a solution to what we call dust in Arua City, or maybe the garbage. And with that, let's first have a short commercial breather, and when we bounce back, we shall be able to continue with the conversation from there. My name is FARISH Majid.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
For Miss Uganda 2024 is on. Get ready to be wowed by the girls' intelligence, charisma, and big dreams. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Find out starting 10th May every Friday to Sunday at 8 p.m. on Makulachika, exclusively on Star Times. For more details on how to join the competition, visit www.missuganda.co.ug or visit Star Times branches. The show is sponsored by VNA, LMZ, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Grace Textiles and U-Home. Miss Uganda 2024, true Ugandan beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
The search for Miss Uganda 2024 is on. Get ready to be wowed by the girls' intelligence, charisma, and big dreams. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Find out starting 10th May every Friday to Sunday at 8 p.m. on Makulachika, exclusively on Star Times. For more details on how to join the competition, visit www.missuganda.co.ug or visit Star Times branches. The show is sponsored by VNA, LMZ, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors, Grace Textiles and U-Home. Miss Uganda 2024, true Ugandan beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, a warm welcome to you, the viewer of West Nile Television. This is the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile Television, channel 477 of StarTimes. And also now we are being joined by, that is Counsel Odama Henry, the legal officer of Arua City. And we want to understand maybe if at all the waste management ordinance is the way to go, because so many times people have been comparing Arua City to Gulu, people have been comparing Arua City to Fort Portal, people have been comparing Arua City to other areas like Mbali. And now we want to see if at all we can be able to reach maybe the level or maybe where those cities have reached. And without wasting any time, allow me welcome him to the show. And we are going to be doing this, that is up to 9 o'clock. And remember, this is only where, if at all you have any question in your mind, you should feel free to drop it. That is on the comment section. More so for those who are watching us online, that is on Facebook and YouTube. We shall be able to also go through your comments in there. But for now, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers out there. My name is Henry Odama, as said, the legal officer, senior legal officer, Arua City. I've been asked to explain about the solid waste management ordinance which we have come out with. As we all know, laws are made for purpose. And mainly, we all know it is Parliament that makes law. But also, the local governments are mandated by the Local Governments Act to make ordinances and bylaws. Ordinances are mainly made at the municipal level, in our case, the city. But the bylaws are made at sub-county levels, and our equivalent is the divisions we have. So when a law is made by a central division and the IEV division, those are called bylaws. So when it is made by the city, the parent institution, that is the ordinance. Right now we have come with a number of these ordinances which are in draft form. We are rolling them out in steps to make consultations and pushing them until when they are approved to become ordinance and applicable. We have got education ordinance, we have got a solid waste management ordinance, we have got a livestock and companions animals ordinance, street and other designated parking areas ordinance, urban agriculture, gender-based violence, child protection. There are about 9 of them, of these 2 are for the 2 divisions we have. Like the child protection is for central, and then we have 1 for IEV. Laws are made for purpose. And when we look at the city we have, compared to the 10 cities that have been created in 2020, we found we are lacking behind as far as smartness in these cities are concerned. And when we did benchmarking in Barara, Fort Portal, and other cities, we found our own Arua City has a major challenge of how to manage waste. As we all know, waste are generated all over. It could be in private places, dwellings, health facilities, factories, offices, open places, even slaughterhouses, including your homesteads. And if we do not manage these waste, and then we are prone to get diseases that come around this litter. So we, upon consultation with the stakeholders, we found it necessary to come out with solid waste management. Basically, how to manage the waste in the city center. You see that market generates big volume of waste. And people litter on the streets and so on. So if these things are not regulated and managed, 1, it exposes us to sicknesses. 2, we look disorganized. We also want to be compared with other cities out there as far as the smartness is concerned. Many times they say Fort Portal is the smartest city. Barara mentioned, we also want to be on the map of Uganda for being a smart institution. That's the reason why we have come up with the solid waste management. Yes.
Looking at the solid waste management, so many people are definitely going to be affected by it. Who are those people maybe who are likely to be affected by this? Because we have education institutions, we have those companies definitely that also will have to play a role. And we have the homes. Who exactly is most likely to be affected by it, and what are some of the benefits that may be able to come that's with the ordinance? Because somebody out there may be scared about the law, because once you mention the word law or an ordinance, people usually tend to fear because they think it's coming to oppress them. Maybe what are some of those benefits, apart from also really ensuring that we have a clean city and maybe we have order in the city? What are some of the benefits? Maybe
when you go to the provisions of the law, some 2 weeks ago, we've been having consultation with the stakeholders at the City Hall. When you go to the provisions, you will find that virtually each and every person has a duty under the law, right from the source or where the waste is generated. You have a primary responsibility to make sure the waste you generate is contained at a specific place before the city authorities come and pick them. So it is everybody's responsibilities. You see, I said earlier on, there are so many things that this law helps us. When your environment is very clean and you have minimal chances of contracting diseases. Right now we have red eye that has broken out. And these are hygiene-related diseases which we can minimize. Mangoes are now everywhere. If we don't gather those wastes in one particular place, these flies will keep spreading diseases. You see, that is now personal security, actually, your personal hygiene. So it helps. Then those who are selling in the market, singling out market as a particular, that is a selling place, and there are volumes of waste that are generated in the market. So those who are selling also needs a very clean environment. And that's why City Council has a duty always to collect those dust and taking them to the dumping place. So it helps a lot when you look around.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
basically to be organized. Yes.
Now looking at our homes, most of our families are still families that are very poor. And that is why there have always been advocacies for them to have, that is what we call the garbage dumping sites. The pit, how do you call it? There is sites where they're supposed to guard the compost, yes, where they're supposed to dump also really that. And this, if you look at this ordinance, mostly talks about waste management right from the source until the final destination, and where they have been urged to also ensure they separate what they're supposed to be having, maybe as garbage. But then if you look at our families, most of our families are still very poor, where we cannot also really afford to also really sort the garbage, maybe sort plastics from maybe other objects that can decompose. I really want to understand how best our families should be able to also act under this law before they are really caught up maybe unawares in there. Because we want to understand and want to see each and everybody be actively engaged with this law, and we must all embrace it, because definitely there's no way we are going to run away from it, because whether we like it or not, we must embrace it, because we need sanity in Arua. But looking at our families who are still very much poor, that is really the reality in Arua City. Most of the families still cannot afford the companies, and besides that, we still not have very many companies that are there to collect the waste, maybe from the homes to other places. And maybe what message do you have for such families that really are still grappling with maybe poverty and other issues here and there?
True, you have a point there. You see, the government has set up structures down to the grassroots, the families. we have the village health teams down in the villages. One of the roles they play is always to sensitize, that keep your environment clean, make sure you have a pit latrine, some place to dump the waste generated. Like when you have mango trees, many of them like you are set up here. What is required is these leaves that fall must always be gathered. You see, it is a routine. Actually, we have a very good culture. In the morning, you find the young children coming to sweep the compound, and they take the waste to a particular place. Now, if you are in a home setup where you have dug a pit just to throw rubbish, actually you are promoting this ordinance.
Okay.
Now, from there, when they get heaped, that's when the home-to-home contractors who pick these garbages now picking them and taking them to the dumping site. I've known of, like, in the area, there is a dickery for those who can avoid. You can contract their services. They pick those rubbish on a routine basis. They take them, pile them somewhere, and then the municipal authorities pick them, take them to the major site, which is the dumping site. So it is a chain that starts from down. First, from the source where the rubbish is generated, you have to gather them somewhere. And then if they heap through your LCs, you can always inform the authorities. But you are expected to take them to the nearest dumping place, such that a big car can now take them to the compost site. So that is the arrangement. First, you should do yourself. At the time the waste is generated, pile them in a particular corner.
Okay.
And then you can inform your LC of the area that we now have rubbish that has piled at a particular corner. Okay. So that's when the team will come and pick them.
Okay. Looking at this ordinance, it is still yet in draft form, meaning that it is still undergoing changes here and there. And once passed, is maybe Arua City ready for the implementation of this law? Because there's having a law, and then also the implementation is really a total different other aspect. Because we have so many laws in Uganda. This is not, if we're really to talk about laws, it's not only the waste management ordinance that could address this side. We have the public order management system. All these are solely to ensure that also really, and there are parent laws perhaps also to ensure that also really there's sanity in the society. Are we ready as a city council to also really ensure that we implement this law now to have a clean city in Arua?
We are very ready. I must tell you, Arua City is coming up with its own court. And actually, at the end of this month or next month, we'll be in position to keep sitting in the court. One of the purposes of creating this court is to ensure that there is order and the sanity in place. And the main people mainly listen when there are sanctions. A law that is made without sanctions will lack its implementation. You find in this ordinance we have provisions of fines, penalties. So the enforcement team, after the law is being passed and approved, there'll be a time where we'll go out to do sensitization. Actually, during this consultation stage, we are already bringing it to the attention of the community that there is a law in place that is coming, so that they are not taken unawares. And once it is passed, we shall go to the radios, to the community centers, sensitize properly about it. And then when we now commence implementation, everybody is already aware that there is a provision like this, there is a fine when you do this.
And there I believe, just like the saying of the law, to say I don't know is not the defense.
Yeah, ignorance of the law is not a defense.
Okay.
That is the position. But we want to make it within the reach of the community. After all, if we are not bothered about the community, we will just sell on the provision that the ignorance of the law is not a defense. But we understand our community. We shall definitely go and sensitize them, that they know that there is such a law in place. Yes.
Now looking at Arua City, I want to draw back. That is when Arua was still a municipality. Arua was said to be one of the cleanest cities.
Yeah.
But now we're in a city. We have now gained a city status, and we have also gone back to the opposite of where Arua is actually put among the dirtiest cities. How can we ensure that we address that challenge, and what exactly went wrong, in your opinion?
You see, Arua is a cosmopolitan city. We have got nationals from Sudan, Republic of Sudan, the Sudanese. We have got the Congolese. We have got other tribes, even from West Africa. I'm told we are also near Central Republic. So there are so many people in the city. Actually, the number has shot up. And when there is a big population, what do you expect? This kind of things will always come into place, people mixing up, dumping rubbish anyhow, and so on. I don't want to compare the past, but one thing I know is when you have a law in place, the enforcement is what brings it to be in line, people to obey.
Okay.
Yes, during municipal status, this could be there, but maybe implementation could be lacking. But this time we are all around. We have now a legal department, which was not there during municipal status, to guide that from here we can enforce like this, from here we can enforce like this. We are hopeful, and given the cooperation we have seen in our consultations, that we will definitely implement this law.
Okay, as we get, as we just left with maybe about 4 minutes to that is clock to 8 o'clock, which is our first hour. Let's first look at maybe those aspects that really maybe as punishments for those who may not be able to abide by the laws. Because we have definitely to understand that there will be fines. I did see 10 counts. I don't understand them. If briefly maybe you can tell us the different punishment for the different crimes, maybe under this law here once passed, and during the implementation somebody may be able to be affected if at all they do not abide by what the law is saying.
Just as an example, most of our fines are 2 current points. Because we are guided by the Local Government Act. There is a limit of what the local governments have to charge, not to exceed the 2 current points. And the current point is 20,000 shillings.
That's an equivalent?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you say, should you be found depositing rubbish on the streets, and how? By passing the containers that are set there to deposit the whatever in. So you are liable to a conviction and the sentence of 1 current point. That means you will have to pay 20,000. But also reputation of the same.
Okay.
Today you're called to do the same thing. After being fined, you repeat. It now becomes cumulative.
Okay.
And you are also liable to serve imprisonment of 6 months.
Okay.
Those are provisions which are there in the law.
Okay.
There is a fine, and then there is also the imprisonment sentence.
Okay.
You can even serve both. And for those who are doing organized business and the lances, in the worst scenario, you will be denied the lances. And they know what that means. Once you are denying the lances, that means you are out of business.
Okay.
So we have measures to ensure that there is enforcement. A law that does not bite will not be enforced. Okay. And that's why we have the fines that are embedded in the schedules of the ordinance. Okay. That is just as one example.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is it, and that is where we also want to take this opportunity now to warn that maybe people who have been dumping garbage on the roads, because sometimes you really see our drainage channels that have been blocked as a result of garbage, and we are being told sometimes this garbage comes from the homes, and the homes also really after collecting, and the maids. This is where we have also been told that it's mostly done by the maids.
This also does not exclude those who are traveling in buses. Okay. We have seen instances.
Somebody is moving in a car, dumps.
And then it throws the bottle of water. So all those, we have measures, provisions in the ordinance. Okay. The idea is to make Arua a clean city. Yes.
All right. We want to see each and everybody be actively engaged in this law, and we must all own it, because for us to own this law, definitely at the end of the day, we are going to be seeing a Arua city that we all want to see. Because if you really see what is happening today, you realize that people are dumping garbage on the roads, which is really quite unfortunate. We are giving hard time at those council laborers who have to come and also really do the cleaning and removing of the garbage, removing the caveras from here and there, which we have also seen sometimes them living on the roads, and which is really quite unfortunate. And I want to say we must all own this law, because this law is coming for the betterment of the city. And if at all of us own it, then definitely we are going to be seeing that clean city, a rural city that we all want to see. And for that, really, that is also really where I want to say it is in good faith, and it's also in good cause, so that also really we are not caught off unawares. But for now, we already that's exactly 8 o'clock. Let's first have this short commercial break, and when we bounce back, we shall be having more other issues on the same topic.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
For Miss Uganda 2024 is on. Get ready to be wowed by the girls' intelligence, charisma, and big dreams. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Find out starting 10th May every Friday to Sunday at 8 p.m. on Makulachika, exclusively on Star Times. For more details on how to join the competition, visit www.missuganda.co.ug or visit Star Times branches. The show is sponsored by VNA, LMZ, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Grace Textiles and U-Home. Miss Uganda 2024, true Ugandan beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial breather. We are 3 minutes after 8 o'clock, and today is also a Friday, and this is where I want to say whoever is a Muslim, you must ensure that you also go for prayers. And on Sunday, whoever is a Christian, maybe Saturday and Sunday, we must also really ensure that we go back to God, because if at all we are not also really getting closer to Him, we may also really see this law that we are talking about also really catching you. And that is why we want to say we must all be prepared for the law. And earlier on we were talking about the different punishments in the law. That is also the ordinance that is yet in draft form. That means that it is still undergoing, that is what we call development. And that is only where we also really seeking, where the city council is also still seeking also ideas and maybe where to remove and what to add on. And earlier on we were talking about the punishments, and the other time somebody was talking about the small punishments, and they felt that this punishment needed to be bigger. What can you say about it? Because they were saying the 1 currency point, which is an equivalent of 20,000, is very small, and somebody may opt to also dump the garbage. And one of the people who are actually said to be behind the dumping of the garbage are the people, the business community, who have the money, is more so those residing within the towns. And if maybe somebody is going to be apprehended for dumping garbage, and 20,000 will really be small for them. What can you say about the kind of punishment, maybe concerning the 10 currency, maybe 1 currency point, and maybe of that sort?
Okay. Like I told you earlier, ordinances and bylaws normally come to fill the gap within a parent law. Like when we talk about waste management, solid waste management ordinance, we already have a parent law somewhere. We could have chosen to prosecute even under Public Health Act. And you always find that the parent laws, they have a bigger fines that are pronounced. But this being a local government, there is always a limit. I told you the Local Government Act has limited local governments not to impose a fine exceeding 2 currency points. Definitely, that looks small. 40,000, what is it? Somebody will just continue to do whatever, continue to repeat the offense because he knows the fine is small. But we have a fallback position. Where you see somebody is becoming stubborn, and that's why we say repetition of a similar offense will attract that sentence in addition to imprisonment, and also sometimes the license is cancelled. So you see, once your license is cancelled, it's like your hands are now locked up. You cannot operate. You see? Another scenario is going outside the ordinance for the bigger sentence. So we will always have ways how to manage the stubborn members, singling them on case-by-case basis. So we don't have a virtue. But this one is just a compliance to Local Government Act, because when we impose fines which are beyond what is provided, again that becomes a problem. Yes.
Looking at most of the centers, maybe in the cities where this garbage comes from, I want to give an example with the shops and more so these buildings where we have often seen garbage coming out from. How can this also really ensure that the garbage that mostly comes from these shops is not also maybe unfairly dispersed in the city, because we want to see each and maybe one center act as a collection center for that garbage, of which is not done, because we have seen most of these shops, what they do is they collect the garbage and just leave it at the shop, and so that solely these women who come and also sweep can collect these garbages. Is that the right way to go, maybe, to ensure that we have, that is what we call the sanity in terms of also the garbage disposal? Could that maybe help act as a solution? Because if you look at the business centers, this is where most of this waste is actually generated from. Moving into areas where people are very many in the business centers, most of the garbage is coming from. And these people, most of the business owners also do not have time exactly to also really move with the garbage from them, let me say, from their workplaces to the home, because that also becomes a challenge now. How should these people act?
In the shops, there's always a requirement that each shopkeeper must keep a dustbin. And once those dustbins are filled out, the workers will always come and pick them and empty them. And actually, it is an offense for a shopkeeper to operate without a dustbin. You see, this is one of the provisions in the law. And even in the building sites, those debris, the law even talks about it. How the debris from the building sites are supposed to be kept. Those in construction sites are not authorized to throw those debris anyhow. There is also a regulation to that effect. Now, when these waste are taken to the compost site, there is sorting of it. The medical waste are normally sorted. They're supposed to be disposed of differently at a different place, because some of those wastes are recycled, like the plastics. When they are sorted out, there is where they are recycled. Actually, we have a recycling machine for the city. So that is done at the compost site. There are instances where you find the dead carcasses of animals. Even the ladies who are bought, you even find a fetus being thrown. So those kind of rubbish are not kept jointly. They are always separated at the compost site. So the shopkeepers, there's a provision for them to, at the shows, keep the garbages before they are collected.
Okay.
Yes.
And then maybe let's now briefly talk about something before we also have to talk about those other laws that Arua City is yet developing in. Because if you look at the education ordinance, which is really quite good, I don't know how long now this one will take. That is also really undergoing what we call consultation stage, because it is yet in the draft form, which means that also really additions and minors are still being conducted on it. How long shall we be able to see maybe this finally be approved, maybe, and presented, that is for implementation?
Actually, we are at the consultation stages. You see, we don't want to skip any stage. There are stages that are supposed to be followed. The drafting stage, the consultation stage, the examination of the law. So right now we are consulting the Wananchi, the community. It is purpose for them to be aware. You see, in those consultations we always have the LCs within our locality in attendance. The religious leaders. You know, these are places where most information can be passed.
Surely.
So they are always there. So after the consultation stage, it will be laid back to the council for their debate. Of course, from the consultation, we have already gathered so many inputs, so many ideas, which people have come up with that need to be put into whatever. I must appreciate those who turned up in the consultations. So it will not really take long as such. We're just doing a procedure. We don't want to skip a procedure.
Okay.
For somebody to take advantage of if a procedure is skipped.
Okay.
So the Education Act, Ordinance rather, has just been, I had presented on Tuesday this week at the council hall, a wide area of stakeholders were involved, and they gave their input. And why education ordinance? Somebody will say, we have an education act. Why do you need to come up with the education ordinance? I told you, the ordinances and the bylaws will come to fill the gap. What is the General Education Act? There are some specific problems that are affecting the city. So the ordinance is meant to address those. We have got issues of drop-up rates within our communities. The girl child looked at as, by the way, their parents who do not have much interest to educate their girl child. We have school drop-up rates. In other areas, you find everybody has at least gone to primary 7, making use of UPE. But in our vicinity, at the time of schools, you find the children selling kabalagala on the streets. Others are selling marunji. Yet children are learning. So you find the education ordinance we've come up has put it as a must that you who has produced a child, or you are guardian, there is a child, and the child is defined as a children behind below the age of 18. So there is a child below the age of 18 must always go to school. This is one of the whatever. So the literacy rate, I think the city authorities want to also address the literacy rate. Those who did the research, why there should be a educational ordinance in place. At least people should make use of the UPE. If there is universal primary education, something which is free, why don't you take advantage of it? Let it be in the tertiary institutions that maybe probably you are educated by what? By funds. Okay. At least the basic education must be.
You know, if you look at the ordinance, mostly it is going to be tackling, that is mostly parents. It touches mostly, talks mostly about parents. But today we have children whose parents are saying they have defeated them. Definitely they have defeated them. And we have children who have become unruly. They do not want to be home. We have seen them on the streets, and that is also where they survive from. How will this law be able to catch up with them? That is one thing also that I want to understand.
Actually, during consultation, we got the testimonies of these parents. Others are saying, like you said, we are completely defeated. We want the government to do something. We want the city authorities to help them out. Now, we are saying, if one of the reasons of these children not going to school is because of discourse that operated within whatever.
Okay, looking at this, sorry to cut you short. Looking at these parents today, we have parents really who have become parents, and we have children and really who have become unruly. And in the villages, you find them really where they cannot be able to do anything, where it becomes quite difficult in the villages. Moving to Madiokoro, where we did witness very poor performances. In Terego, the same issues are happening, and we moved to Maracha. I did see the same. When there's a disco, really, it becomes a challenge. We have these young children who do not want to go to school, and you really find a child of 14 years, 13 years, at that time of the night, really outside. But you wonder what they're exactly doing, and yet these are supposed to be a school age-going children, and really it becomes quite difficult. And how really can such ordinances really, to my wish, also be passed faster, so that these matters can be addressed? If you want to witness what I'm talking about, it's not only happening in the village, in the rural areas, in the city center, it's happening. You wait when these also days are happening more so these big days, for instance, Christmas or Eid or New Year. You move along the streets, you will realize that We have children whose parents really wonder where they are, because you find these children moving out at the night, moving just without any guardian or maybe any parent assisting, accompanying them, but really you wonder where these children are from. And these are supposed to be children who are supposed to be in school. And you wait right now, they're on holidays, you can be able to see how the children are loitering. And that's already where I believe, and I also pray for such ordinances maybe to be able to solely address such concerns, which to me would be quite well and good at the end of the day, because we want to see each and every child go to school. Because if at all the children are not going to school, then definitely which generation are we going to be having in the next coming years? And that is why the education ordinance, I really also pray that it is passed faster, because we want to see sanity. Because looking at the dropout rates in Arua, I believe they are not also really very low. How can such ordinances maybe address that? Because we have children more so in the, I want to call them slum areas, because if you move there, you will realize that this is where the highest number of dropout rate is. And that is solely where I want to say, if this ordinance is passed faster, that would also help address these concerns.
That's our desire. We want to roll this ordinance very fast, and then we start to implement. Because a research has already been done. All the causes of this dropout, the early marriages, the unwanted pregnancies, and defilement rates, why they are so rampant, there is already a research that has been done. So you find in the ordinance, a duty has been placed on every stakeholder. You are a parent, you have a responsibility. You are a guardian, you have a responsibility. Even the children themselves, there is a responsibility. Fail of which, there is always a sanction. You'll be fined. When you operate in a disco, you should ensure that the persons who attend to these discos are persons who are 18 years above, not the school-going age. There are those provisions in the ordinance. Should you continue to operate your disco, that affects the operation of the whatever the schools, then you are also in. There is a sanction for you. The worst one will be cancelling your licenses. You may not operate that business. Even your machines can be impounded if you are seen to be stubbornly not complying to the ordinance. So it is very accommodative. It looks at every area, every causes, causes of drop-up rates, poor performance. There is contribution from stakeholders whom we met. So we've incorporated all those ideas, all these causes, and then how to address them.
And then looking at this, that's ordinance on education, shall it also really be maybe the time bomb to the poor performance in this region? Shall it, do you think it will be able to address that concern of poor performance in this region, as we are still witnessing most of the local governments in the Western sub-region are trying very much to solely ensure that their performances increases? And I believe that could also be as a result of some of the things that you mentioned, the discourse, and also other issues that we did talk about here. Could it also help improve the performance?
Actually, the bigger percentage of our attendances were the teachers. We were trying to look at the source. Why is the performance low? What is the reason? They have given us very good attributes that the problem is here. The problem is disco. The problem is this. Children are stubborn. They are not listening to their parents. So that's why we said now we go to the roots. If the problem is the parents, we go to this parent, is sanctioned. If the problem is the guidance, we go to this guidance. If the problem is the child, him or herself, we also go to you, because there is a duty. You see, in the Children Act, it is actually one of the mandatory rights to be educated. So, actually, that is contravening the right of a child. Once a child doesn't go to school, that is one thing. But also, when you go to school, you are expected to concentrate in school. you find that there is a provision about absenteeism because we saw that's one of the reasons of poor performance. There is also a sanction for that.
But these some of these children who may not be able to maybe at the age of 18. Under such circumstances, what can be maybe the punishments for such young people who are solely breaking the law?
Well, we are treating issues to do with the education. There is normally age bracket from which age to which age that a child is supposed to be in school. It may be exception to those below the age of 6, but we're saying those who are in school going age bracket must always be in school.
Okay.
We are not going to sanction the babies who are there, who are supposed to be nurtured.
Nursery and their home.
Yes.
Okay.
So it looks at age bracket.
Okay.
Within which age bracket.
Okay, as we get to the climax of the show, we are just remaining with about 6 minutes. Council, I want us to talk about now the other ordinance, which is solely that is going to sort of look at how animals have been fed. If you look at what's happening today, the other time I had the mayor saying that he was on the road competing with the animals, and he said these are cows. But not, some people were thinking that he was competing with the chief administrative officers, but he said no, the real cows, the animals, which really became quite shocking, and really that is also really where we want to understand how these laws can be able to be implemented, because this is the reality. We see this often where maybe these laws are solely, these animals are being taken, that is the butcheries, and this is also where we do see these animals, sorry, the abattoirs, where we also see people moving with these animals without necessarily bothering about the other maybe road users.
Yes.
How will maybe maybe if you can briefly paint for us an image of that ordinance, so that sort of we understand what it entails, and at the end of the day we may also really see how good it is going to also maybe address our issues that in relation to these animals moving stray in the city center.
Yeah, like I told you earlier, laws are normally made looking at the problem, the mischief. And the laws are made in order to address that problem. Now, we have cases of stray animals in the city. Honestly, it looks awkward when we have very important dignitaries who always pass within the city, maybe to the airport, and you find the animals moving. Those animals, I see most of them are those that escape from the butcher, slaughterhouses. You find them loitering on the streets. But there are also those which escape from the homesteads. That's why we have, among other laws in the city, what is called Livestock and Companion Animals Ordinance. What does this law address? This ordinance is going to address those stray animals, people who leave their animals to loiter in the township, in the city center. We're going to find that there is also a sanction against them to take responsibility of those animals. If it has escaped, let it be seen that somebody is following it and getting it back. Those are instances which can be excusable. You say, to say that truly this one escaped, that's why somebody is following. But leaving them to be loitered in the whatever, once we roll this ordinance out, we're going to impound those and cause them to be arrested. Even going to the extent of auctioning them, selling them.
Looking at the issues about stray animals, as we're just remaining with about 3 minutes to sum up the discussion, and this is also in relation to the different ordinances, and I know this is where people have been also really wanting to see that they understand the laws. And really, how has it been challenging, the issue about stray animals moving on the cities? And why do we need this law?
That is exactly what I've been explaining. We want to ensure order, that animals should be where animals are supposed to be, in their kraals. Actually, if they are kept in the city center. They should be in the abattoir for slaughter purposes. And those which we find the lottery, we shall definitely
auction them.
Yes, cause them to be taken to a designated place. And if the owners do not give good explanations, we'll sell them off. We'll sell them off.
Okay.
So the idea is to keep a very clean city. Recently, you saw the operation on the streets, those who are selling on the streets, which was blocking buyers. When you go to that main market, you find that virtually you don't have space to park, like when you're in a car. Okay. So we had to employ a trade order purposely to clean the city. Okay. That is just one aspect of it. It is going to roll to those animals which are loitering in the city center. And others who want to keep a clean city, like others, other cities out there. And
I know animals have also eaten the grasses that you planted.
Yes.
As designs.
Yes, you know, we have greening. One of the aspects of development of the city is greening. Okay. There are trees that are planted there. They go destroying them, and they defecate anywhere on the streets. It's so embarrassing.
Okay.
So those are things which we want to avoid.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Council, for coming through. As we are just remaining with about a minute, I don't know if you can be able to put your final say. And really, we appreciate you for coming through to talk to the masses out there. That is concerning the different laws that are really coming up. And we hope to also have you once more, and maybe in the future again. And that's sort of to talk to people still about laws, because laws definitely do not have an end. And that is where we shall be continuing to have more laws and laws to come.
Yeah.
Maybe your final say in 30 seconds as we get to the end of the show.
First of all, I want to appreciate the management of West Nile TV. You are really helping us to promote and send our messages out there, that there is this in place. This is one way I take as sensitization to the public. Thanks for giving us that slot that we are able to reach out there. Okay. To the public, like I said, the city has come with several laws in place. All the drafts are ready. We are just rolling them stage by stage. The first, we have already rolled the solid waste management ordinance. We have rolled out education ordinance. There are others which I said are also in the pipeline coming. Right. Things like the livestock and the companion street and other designated parking areas. We're also going to ensure that we have organized parking in the streets. Okay. Urban agriculture, gender-based violence, there is also ordinance which has been rolled out already. Consultation is done. In our divisions, we also have the bylaws. Okay. In Central, we have Child Protection Ordinance. Okay. Those are the issues.
Right.
Yes.
As we now come to, we are 31 minutes after 8 o'clock, and really we want to say thank you so much whoever watched us right from the time we began, and this is in relation to the laws, because if definitely you do not also really understand the laws, if you're caught off guard, definitely there's nothing you're going to be saying like, I did not know what I was doing, because the ignorance of the law is usually said it is not a defense, and that is why we are here to sensitize you and keep informed of what is happening on ground. And that does also bring us to the short commercial break, and when we bounce back, we shall be able to take up the conversation from there.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
The search for Miss Uganda 2024 is on. Get ready to be wowed by the girls' intelligence, charisma, and big dreams. Who will be the next Miss Uganda? Find out starting 10th May every Friday to Sunday at 8 p.m. on Makulachika, exclusively on Star Times. For more details on how to join the competition, visit www.missuganda.co.ug or visit Star Times branches. The show is sponsored by VNA, LMZ, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Grace Textiles and U-Home. Miss Uganda 2024, true Ugandan beauty.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
A very good morning to you that is still watching West Nile Television. You're most welcome to this show, and we are already getting to the climax of the show. And remember, our final destination remains, that is 9 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock that's when Mukulia Lawrence will be coming through with the news bulletin Liberty. But before I get to give you that, earlier on we are discussing also really that is the issue about different ordinances, and we did talk about what we call the education ordinance. We also talked about the animal also ordinance in there, and this is where we also were saying people who are supposed to move their animals, and this is really where we want to see the issues of stray animals in the cities being addressed, because sometimes people have to compete. That's for road usage with animals, which is really quite unfortunate, because we are saying animals need not to be loitering in the city, and that's only where the ordinance is also really about. And remember, so many ordinances are now being developed that is also in the pipeline by Arua City, and that's really where we also talked about so many issues. That's with the legal officer, that's Counsel Odama Henry. I hope you had a wonderful time. And now, as we get to move on with the stories are still in the that's related to the animals, MPs have ordered that is for the closure of Mbarara Abattoir City. Is also another story that we are seeing here, and this is over poor sanitation, and that's only where we want to also really start off our discussion. That is in the second half of the second hour. And now we want to see Parliament's Committee that's on Health has also ordered the closure of that Mbarara City Abattoir, saying it has continued to operate. That's also and possess also a risk threat. That's story to the people in there, and this is also something we are saying must also be observed. And this, if you look at the abattoir in Arua, now we have also seen Arua City Council giving order that's also to give it a facelift, and that's only where it is maybe developing. But really we are saying also we want to see at one time this abattoir be moved away from its current facility and also its current area to another area that is really suitable and outside Arua, because if you really see where this animal is, maybe this abattoir is, it was also not planned that's for the city. And this is only where we did see the abattoir planned for the then municipality, but now we have entered into a city status, and this is is also really where, to me, in my own opinion, if this abattoir was moved, it would be quite good. And this is also really where it is also maybe not suitable, because we are seeing the animals also really moving out. Sometimes you realize that an animal is also taken off, that is from the abattoir. This is also where they are being slaughtered, and this is also where we see people running after animals, and also people are also scared about the animals. And that's why we are saying, to me, in my own opinion, this abattoir needed to be moved away from here, and that will be quite well and good. And the community led by that Kokoliriko North MP, also this is the committee led by the Kokoliriko North MP, that is also Samuel Achute Opio, who is also currently also assessing the state of abattoirs in the country. On Tuesday, also said Mbarara City abattoir in Kenkombe in Kako ward, that's solely in Mbarara City South Division, lacks all the safety and healthy standard also precautions. That's only to also handle the meat that is being consumed by members of the community in there, and that means that is only posing a risk threat to now people. And that is one reason also what we want to say is for those who are also consuming meat, those who love meat lovers, you must also ensure that where you are buying the meat from, first of all, is also really a place that is a bit clean and safe, because if you are not abiding by that, then definitely you may also really get diseases in there. And for those who are also really doing the meat business, and also really more so those in hotels, those also really doing what we call the guerrillas, those who sell by the roadsides, we also want to say you must also really abide by the laws, so that also really the final consumer is also really very, very much safe in there. Because if at all we are not also really abiding by the laws, at the end of the day, we may see the final burden go onto the consumer, who is actually the meat consumer and the one who loves eating meat. And however, these laboratory tests are not done, and what is done is also the right that is in the physical examination, which may also fail to detect certain kinds of conditions and the zoonotic diseases, which we have also seen today. And if we talk about zoonotic diseases, these are animals that can be spread. That is from an infected animal to maybe a human being, and the human being can also as well as move these animals, or maybe these diseases to animals. And that is why we are saying people must not ensure that they sleep on share houses with also the animals, and the animals also really must be kept safe. And that is why we are saying the zoonotic diseases must be avoided. And today we are also seeing so many people getting that is infected through the zoonotic disease because they did not abide by the laws in place in terms of also consuming the meat, because an animal may be bitten by a stray dog which also had the disease, and then we see people still consuming. And that's only where sometimes maybe those people who sell by the roadside and these travelers also get to buy the meat. At the end of the day, we see them also contracting what we call the disease, zoonotic disease. And that is why we are saying people who are sorely in the abattoirs must ensure that the animals that are also already being slaughtered are the ones that are a bit healthy, so that sorely people not get to contract the diseases. And that is one thing also I feel I must remind you of. And Dr. Moses Amanyire, the Mbarara City Production Officer, said government is to blame for the state of the abattoir, and really that is also where we want to see also the abattoir being uplifted, because Arua City is also really seeing a facelift, where we did see a contract now being handed over the project, also to ensure that at least there are some renovations done on the facility. And I want to say that is one thing maybe Mbarara City could be able to copy from, because recently we did see also our leaders moving to also those areas to benchmark on, and we did see also leaders from there moving here to also benchmark. And I really want to say these are things that they would also really wish to learn from, and I really want to say that is what also summarizes the topics with. And let's look at some of the stories. And this is now in business, where we're also seeing also Parliament passing us over 2.9 trillion. That's also supplementary budget in there. That's something at least we are seeing on the past morning, and really want to say, as a Parliament also has passed that supplementary budget appropriation, that is of Bill 2023, that sought to consolidate all supplementary expenditures that were passed also by Parliament during the financial year of 2022-2023. And according to the Finance Committee report, government during the implementation of 2022-2023 financial year budget has sought also the additional resources, that's of shillings 2.9 trillion also really to finance what they called unforeseen expenditures. And that's really something we did see happening in there. The supplementary schedules, including agenda, were laid before Parliament. That is also really in according to what we also would describe Article 156, subsection 3, and also that's of the Public Management Act. And that's only something where we did see also really in there sections 25 of the Public Management Act, also 2025, also really also addressing that issue in there. And although the bill at first also really met strong resistance from opposition MPs led by Nandala Mafabi and Ibrahim Semujunganda, who argued that it was presented outside the law, and since the law is also really in talks of presentation. Within also 4 months, it is also said through but the amendments. Also, that's something we did see happening, and I really want to say we also want people to also see to that we also money that also may be given out in also in this supplementary budget is well utilized in, and that's something at the end of the day where we may also see value for money. And moving from that, let's now look at some of the stories. This is also New Vision, where manufacturers agreed to meet traders to resolve grievances. Is also another story we are seeing this morning. And manufacturers under the umbrella body, the Uganda Manufacturers Association, has also agreed to meet traders in both retail and wholesale businesses to resolve their outstanding grievances. And remember, so many of these traders have often been also crying out to the government of Uganda over their grievances, first of all in relation to the tax, and also maybe how expensive the goods are. And now the Manufacturers Association was also already set, and is also now set to meet the traders. And this was already after traders under various associations in Kampala and upcountry area also already complained to President Yoweri Museveni during a meeting that at Colonial Independence Grounds on May 8th of 2024 that many investors and particularly manufacturers had killed their businesses, and yet they have also to pay high taxes to Uganda Revenue Authority. And that's already where now we are seeing several traders who accuse also the manufacturers of opening wholesale and retail outlets in the country and countryside where they also deliver same items or sell also now even at cheaper prices are now set to meet and discuss on these issues. And others said manufacturers also who sell the wholesale turn around and also send their agents also to deliver the same goods also to retailers at lower prices, leaving many of them at loss. And that is why they feel that these matters also must be addressed by the president. And now we are seeing also now that the Manufacturers Association is set to meet them, and I really want to say at the end of the day, these are matters already that shall be able to be addressed. And I want to say we also want to see each and everybody more so who is engaged in the business, because the final outcome and the final expectation of somebody who is engaging in business is definitely what we call profits. And really, when we are seeing also really the chain that is also from the manufacturers to the retailers, if at all if it's not well implemented, and then definitely if at all maybe one party sneaks to do both, then the other one is going to be affected. Because if you look at manufacturers and then producers, if at all they do not also really abide by, then the wholesalers are at risk. And if the wholesalers also do not respect that, then the retailers will be able to also really be affected in that. And that's why we are saying the chain of a business must be respected, right from the manufacturers to that is what we call the retailers, so that also really each and everybody more so who is also really involved in there also really has something to earn for themselves. And that is why also really many businesses may not be closed if at all this chain is respected. And that is one also thing that I must also remind you of as we get to the climax of the show. And remember, today, it being a Friday, we are going to also be entering the weekend. And yesterday we did see a meeting that is of HIV, and where we did see the prevalence of HIV in West Nile being very much high. And also we are also seeing Arua City also standing, that is at also what we call 4.4%, which is also already very much high in there, where we're seeing at least 390 new infections. And that is one also something I must remind you of as we are heading into the weekend. We must be very much vigilant. We must also really be very much cautious about our lives. For those who are going to be maybe spending night in the clubs, those who are going to drink, you must also really maybe mind of whom you are going to be spending nights with, and so that's only you are not also caught up. That is also really infection. And we shall be expecting that is also the guest to come and tell us more about the HIV prevalence in there, and that's the situation in Western sub-region over the coming days. But for now, allow us to stop here. But before we get to stop, allow me also to remind you that also games will be going on over the weekend. We have so many games. The Odilo Cup has started, that is in Arua City, and also really, if you look at maybe other games, English Premier League as well, will be lasting over the weekend. And not forgetting in Alur sub-region, the Kopopo Bimu also really is returning, and this is also really where I want to remind you of, maybe in areas where you are, you can't be able to really walk freely to also really watch any of these games that really I did mention to you. But for now, allow us stop here as Owen Zaga together with Linda Susie will be here, that is from 2 to 3 p.m. To keep you updated, and that's of what is happening in the world of sports. For now, allow us stop here. We wish you a good day and happy Friday and happy weekend as well. But for those who are yet also really maybe planning to travel, remember you can also really watch us anywhere, any part. You don't have to be worried of maybe you are going to be leaving your TV behind, and that is why we are saying you will be still that is in contact with West Nile Television. That is on social media, on channel, that's on Facebook, that's on Twitter, and also really and YouTube. That's on West Nile Television. And for those who are on StarTimes, channel 477 remains the platform where you can access us. That is via satellite. For now, allow us to stop here. Wish you a good day and happy weekend.